What's up, guys? We're back with another ThunderCats Ultimates review from Super7, taking a look at the only real ThunderCat in this wave. We have got LYNX-O up today. So we've had Pumaira before, and since Wave 2 is delayed, we don't have her from Super7 again yet. So this is our first of the three secondary ThunderCats that come later on in the show. So we've got Bengali, Pumaira, and the blind LYNX-O. We've got, of course, got him here in the standard, sort of trapezoidal packaging. So you've got the foil embossed ThunderCats logo here on the slipcover. But of course, pop that off and we've got our figure within. So you've got LYNX-O there in all of his glory inside that big window, ThunderCats logo down there on the bottom. And then the back of the box has some fantastic new artwork as well as a bio for this old cat. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Ultimates LYNX-O from Super7. This makes the second new ThunderCat that has come out in this, this line, the Classics line, however you want to describe it. So we got Pumaira from Mattel, 6 years ago, at this point, 6 years ago, is that right? Something like that. And then we're getting her again reissued and corrected from Super7 when Wave 2 finally hits. So we will have two official new ThunderCats from Super7 then, but this guy is definitely one I've really been looking forward to. One of the big reasons is because I've never gotten a hold of his vintage figure, so I don't have that one. So it's nice to get a LYNX-O. This is one of those characters that translated from cartoon to toy pretty normally in the vintage line, so he wasn't too different. There are some kind of wacky variants out there. There's a variant with eyes painted on his head. There's a variant that's just a recolored Jaga that's an international release. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some weird LYNX-O variants down the line. But this is exactly what I need out of a LYNX-O figure. I'm pretty happy with this guy. And in the same vein as Monkeyan, he feels different. So he is it's a little bit different. He seems like he's a little more tightly constructed, specifically around the torso area, so we don't have that gap that we see on like LYNX-O, for example. So some new stuff here. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around, all that good stuff. We do have a head that is unfortunately kind of locked down. This is a trend that I think needs some attention. These heads really don't do a lot more than just sort of bobble and not really go anywhere, and they can rotate. So he has a little tilt, but he doesn't have any up or down, and it's just because the neck is seemingly so big that it fills the cavity in the head, so there's no clearance. He can't really do a whole lot. I wish he could be a little more expressive that way. Arms go out at the shoulder. They, of course, rotate all the way around. You've got your bicep swivel. We've got our single-jointed elbows, but they're pretty limited. Like, they don't have great range on them for some reason. Even at that forcep, that's not even 90 degrees, so that's definitely a bit of a bummer. There is some rotation in there also. We've got hinges and rotation at the wrist. Pretty normal there. Ab crunch goes backwards slightly, and then he goes forwards a decent bit. What I really like, though, is that, in conjunction with the fact that this guy is pinless, so, new stuff there, he has a more tightly constructed, again, torso and ab crunch. So there's those unsightly gaps are not there. He seems to be a little bit more fluid and just solidly built. So I'm happy with the way he looks in terms of getting him to move at the same time. We do still have our waist twist. I'm going to say it again. Really hoping we get Legion style ball waists at some point. Legs go out about this far. Pretty nice range. They kick forward about all the way. Yeah, there you go. Kick backwards slightly. You've got your thigh cut up there. And then we've got our single jointed rotating knee. And then we've got really good rocker and hinges down at those ankles. Hinge backward better than forward, but still, that's probably good enough though, right? Yeah, that's pretty decent. So he moves okay. He's certainly not the most articulated figure in the line, which is interesting because he's normal, but his arms kind of leave a little bit to be desired, as does the range at the neck and the head. Otherwise, though, he is very much par for the course, but I do, again, want to call out the fact that they have redesigned the ab crunch on this particular body to be both mobile and visually appealing. In that same vein, visually speaking, he looks pretty damn good. Like, there's really not a whole lot to complain about aesthetically on this guy. He's very clean, very nice line work on this paint job, on the colors, and I mean, he very much looks like he jumped right out of the screen. So there's a lot to like about this one. A lot of it is, again, the same kind of thing that I expressed with Monkeyan. He feels different feels more solidly constructed, and the pinless joints, I mean, they're still single jointed joints, but they make him look better. It's really hard to look at LYNX-O and see those big holes in his arms and then come to this and just nothing. Like, it's just very seamless, and it's just more pleasing. So I'm really happy that we went this direction. But the figure itself, I think he looks great. He is a little bit different from other figures. You know, he's not as like jacked in the chest as some of the other figures because, well, he's just not. The colors here look really good, so that color separation between his slightly muted red and the black looks great. The ThunderCats emblem on his chest absolutely pops. Like, it's a nice bright shade of red, and the actual Cats logo itself is very nicely done. It's got to be tampoed, I'm sure, but it's very clean, very centered, and it looks good. All of the spots on his hands, or his wrists rather, and then of course the tan hands do look nice. Paint's really clean and crisp there. It's just one of those weird little things that he has that sets him apart from some of the other ThunderCats. His Thunder pants with the little sort of like a pseudo belt, a little mustard belt, and the little dots are very clean again, so no problems to speak of there. And that sort of plays into tying him all together, because it ties him into the sort of the torso outfit, as well as the wraps on his feet and the boots themselves. So you've got that sort of mustard color down here, and it all flows. So black, red, yellow, black, yellow, red. It all sort of just puts him together a little bit. And then, of course, he is asymmetrical, which I often like. So he's got this sort of 3/4 sleeve on his left arm, your right, so just black, but it does make him look a little bit different. It gives him a little bit more of a unique design rather than him having just two bare arms. We'll do size comparisons here in a minute. He is pretty similar to most figures, but he's also not exactly the same. And then, of course, we've got what I think is, I mean, what I know is his most defining characteristic being his head sculpt, because not only does his sculpt look fantastic, there is a lot of paint on this, and it brings out a lot of detail, and it's also a very unique color scheme for him. So he's got his red bandana, of course, bald head, and then you've got like the white in his ears, the black tips, the white bushy eyebrows with the big mustache, and then he's got that orange and black spotted beard. But of course, one of the most interesting aspects of this guy is that LYNX-O is blind. So he has, closed eyes. So his eyelids are closed, and you've got yellow, or it's, sorry, rather orange, with the black outline around it. And it's all really well painted. It looks fantastic, and it's a very different kind of look for an action figure. How many action figures do you have that don't show their eyes? It's pretty uncommon, and it just makes him stand out a little bit. Now, there is that variant that, that maybe could exist one day where we get one with eyes painted on, but this is how he's supposed to look, and I think they did a really solid job here. All the details are in place. Paint is really nice, clean, and crisp. All the line work is really well done, and again, I think he looks fantastic. Pretty much looks like he jumped right out of the screen. Now, as far as some size comparisons go, let's start with other ThunderCats figures, and let's just do the stuff that's already been shown in this wave. So I've done Monkeyin, and I've done Snowman, so here they are next to LYNX-O. And you can see, I think this is a really good illustration of how big Monkeyin is in particular. He is quite a bit bulkier than LYNX-O. He is a little bit smaller. He's a little bit more svelte than some of the other figures. He's not super, super bulky. And then you can see exactly just how he sizes up next to Snowman. So let's move this big guy aside just to get the big boy out of the way. And let's do LYNX-O, because this is also a pretty good illustration that he is a slight bit smaller. He's not as tall. Granted, LYNX-O's hair makes him seem a little bit bigger, but you can see that he's a little bit more compact because his torso is a little bit smaller, and the shoulders are not as elevated as LYNX-O's. LYNX-O is, of course, very much a more Motu Classics kind of figure than what we are getting now when it comes to a lot of these retooled and redesigned ThunderCats. But there is a lot of similarity here. He shouldn't be too different in size, but you can see LYNX-O definitely still feels and looks a little bit more bulky. And then let's do another Ultimates, but a different line. So here's a turtle. Here he is with Leo. And of course the turtles do skew a little bit smaller, but you can still get an idea of what they look like next to each other. And then let's do a different line entirely. So here he is with a Mezco figure, and we'll do the new Captain Nemo. So this, of course, is not something that's in scale. He's a little bit taller than LYNX-O, just barely, but of course his proportions are not the same, so you can get an idea of what he looks like next to a Mezco figure. And then let's do a Marvel Legend, just to give you that comparison as well to something from Hasbro. So here he is with the recent retro Shocker. So LYNX-O, I think, sizes up pretty well. He is bulkier than your normal 1/12 scale figure because that's not what scale he is, but I think he works really, really well with the ThunderCats, and seeing him next to LYNX-O kind of better illustrates exactly how he is slightly different from the norm when it comes to all of this new construction. Now, as far as accessories goes, LYNX-O has a pretty decent spread here. There is maybe like a change-up, I think, from prototypes that were shown, and then there's maybe a couple things I would have liked to have seen with this guy, but he does have some interesting stuff. He's got some weird stuff, honestly. There's a couple odd accessories in here that definitely work for him, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with them. So to start with, we do get an extra head sculpt, and this is, his sort of expressive head sculpt. So, all the ThunderCats now are getting extra heads that have them in sort of like a battle expression. So he's got kind of like a snarl going here, which I actually really like. I know LYNX-O is more of a reserved character. He's supposed to be kind of an older, wiser ThunderCat in line with Jaga. But of course, they all get into battle, so it makes perfect sense for him to be able to have something like this. And I think it looks great. I really, really like that expression, that sort of upturned lip. And all the paint and the details are just as good on this head as the other. I'm not, however, sure if I'm going to use this one primarily. I tend to stick to these more expressive heads. But for LYNX-O, I probably will have him in more of his sort of stoic Zen kind of expression. But I do really like this. In that same vein, one thing I would have loved to have seen here is a third head sculpt that had his, Sword of Omen's summoning expression. So, we got that head sculpt with Panthro, where he's got his eyes that glow in the dark as kind of that pack-in bonus with the booster pack when they fixed Wave 1 stuff. And I believe more are coming, but LYNX-O's is really unique. His ears glow when that happens. So I would have loved to have seen something like that. We do get some extra hands. So he's got these sort of expressive style pose claw hands, which make really good sense for him in particular. And then we've got some gripping hands. So he's got laterally hinged gripping hands, and then he's got a set of vertically hinged gripping hands. I would have preferred a set of fists instead of one of these, because I don't really know that he needs the vertically hinged ones because he doesn't have any melee weapons. He doesn't have anything like that. He does, however, have his light shield, and this looks pretty good. This is the thing that I mentioned was changed from the prototype, because this is how it looks in the cartoon. It's gold in the interior, this little cross design, but in the vintage toy, it's red. And the prototype had the red inner detail. So they did change that. And this thing just clips onto his wrist like that. It's just a shield that he uses. It can project light too, right? So it can clip onto him and you've got it just like that. So that's kind of cool. That's his, signature thing. And then he's got some of the more weird stuff, like we've gotten some of the artifacts and treasures of Thundera, stuff like that. So he does get one of those. So we get the tile of the fountain. And this is what the last episode of the show, where he and Chitara, I believe it's her, put this in and sort of save New Thundera from blowing up. So you get this. This is one of those things that I think is really cool, and it's one of those kind of esoteric, really deep cut things for maybe more casual folks. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I do like the idea that stuff like this is coming. But what's really weird is to get this. So we get his braille board, and it makes perfect sense for LYNX-O to get this. It's absolutely 100% tailored to him as a character. I have no idea how I'm going to try to display this so far, but it's a really cool idea. It's even got all the little raised, bits for the braille on there. You've got like the dial on here. It's got sculpt on the back too. Not a whole lot to speak of, but he does have his braille board, and I just think that's a really cool idea. This is another one of those very signature LYNX-O things from the cartoon that gets translated into toy form. So he does have a lot of cool stuff here, a lot of weird stuff, really. The only thing that I truly would have loved to have seen is maybe to swap out some fists for one of those sets of hands, and then to see a set of glowing ears on a head sculpt to kind of signify him being summoned by the sword. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this guy. The only real hangups I have are frankly around articulation. I feel like the head is definitely limited, and the elbows are surprisingly limited. The range on them is not what I thought it would be. Otherwise, though, he looks fantastic. He moves well enough everywhere else, and he comes with some crazy accessories. Like, all of it fits him, but some of it's just weird, especially the Braille board. Like, that's a weird thing to have in toy form. I like it, but it's no less weird. The one thing I really wish he did come with was an extra head sculpt that had Sword of Omen's summoning effects. We've gotten that one in the booster pack with Panthro. I want to say there's another one or two coming for other reasons, but LYNX-O is different. He has glowing ears when the Sword of Omens summons him, so he would have been very different, and that's just another standout thing I'd like to see, because I feel like some of the cats are going to be missing that at the end of the day. But otherwise, this is a very solid entry. He will go nicely enough with the Pumira I have now, but I'm really looking forward to getting a corrected one to go with him soon. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Ultimates ThunderCats Wave 4 LYNX-O. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.